shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
And that's talking about them jakes that sold out, that turned their back, that didn't want to accept this truth. They're gonna backstroke in the lake of fire, which is America. Because when these missiles light America up from one coast to the other, from the east coast to the west coast, from the south to the north, it's going to look like an actual lake that's on fire. Okay, we don't have to get that other one. Let's go, because we spoke about Moses in the wilderness, right? Let's get a couple of scriptures on that. The first one, give me Exodus 7, verse 16. If you want, you can jump up a verse or two above that, and you might want to read down a verse or two below that.
This is the book of Exodus chapter 7, verse 14. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened, he refuses to let the people go. Get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning, lo, he goeth out unto the water, and thou shalt stand by the river's brink against he come. And the rod which was turned to a serpent shalt thou take in thine hand. And thou shalt say unto him, the Lord power of the Hebrews have sent me unto thee, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, hitherto thou wouldest not hear. Thus saith the Lord, In this thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in mine hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. And the fish that is in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the water of the river. And the Lord spake unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Take thy rod and stretch out thine hand upon the waters of Egypt, and upon their streams, and upon their rivers, and upon their ponds, and upon all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and that they may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and in vessels of stone. And Moses and Aaron did so as the Lord commanded, and he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. And the fish that was in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, neither did he hearken unto them as the Lord had said. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house, neither did he set his heart to this also. And all the Egyptians dig round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink of the water for the river, and 7 days were fulfilled after the Lord had smitten the river.
Yeah, so the first thing the Most High said was, Let the children of Israel go so they may serve me in the wilderness. So the Pharaoh, he didn't want that to happen. Why didn't he want that to happen? Because he wanted to have slaves. He wanted to have the millions upon millions of slaves. You know, certain scholars say all of Israel was about 6 to 10 million at that time. Well, that's a lot of production right there, man. You know, all your slaves, all your workers just decide to leave the job. It shuts everything down. So that's why he wanted them to stay. He wanted to keep them slaves. But the Most High did tell them to go into the wilderness, just like we're going to go into the wilderness all over again. All right? Now go from there to the same chapter, book, Exodus, the 13th chapter, the 18th and the 20th verse. Or the 18th to the 20th verse.
Exodus chapter 13, verse 18. But the Most High led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. And the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, The Most High will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones away hence with you. Verse 20. And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness.
Yeah, so they were out there camping out there. It tells you that they had set up tents, and they broke the tents down. As a matter of fact, the second letter character of the Hebrew alphabet, Ba, is from the word Bayath, which means house. It means tent. Loosely translated, means tent. And basically that symbol that you see in the ancient Hebrew with the hook on it is actually a hieroglyphic, for lack of a better term, of a tent. Okay? Now go from there to the next chapter, which is the 14th chapter, the 11th and the 12th verse.
Exodus chapter 14, verse 11 and 12. And they said unto Moses, because there was no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness. Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with...
Jump up above that a little bit so you can get a better understanding.
Okay, verse 10. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. And they said unto Moses, because there was no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness?
These are the children of Israel complaining to Moses. Go ahead.
Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Verse 12. Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it...
Because the nigga want to stay in the... A lot of our people, man, going, like I said, forget about your aunties and your... Some of you got to forget about your mother and your father. You know, some of your parents ain't going to make it. You know, some of your nephews and nieces and brothers and sisters ain't going to make it, man. Some of your so-called friends ain't going to make it. So you can't worry about them because they want to stay here. They've been in this piece of shit place so long that they used to it, man. They ain't looking to be free. Go ahead.
For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
Yeah, it's better for us to just be slaves forever than to die in the wilderness. Right, well, get that, brother. Jeremiah. Go ahead.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?
Yeah, so that's playing into the point, man. Our people got the spirit of a slave on them. Hey, like I'm gonna show you some more of these so-called. You got Spike Lee and these other so-called black directors, but you have this guy Tarantino made that movie Django Unchained about a slave killing white people, man. Now there's no controversy on that. They're not bringing Tarantino talking about why'd you make this movie? You know this is gonna stir up racial tension and all that. But if Spike Lee had made that movie, they would have crucified him in the media, man. That shows how you fucking devils operate, man. Okay, now let's go from there to Exodus, the 15th chapter and the 23rd verse. And then immediately after that, go to Exodus 16, verse 1, and we're going to read down to the 3rd, and we might read a couple more verses besides that.
Exodus 15 and 23. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah.
Yeah, now it was in the wilderness. We'll keep reading.
Okay. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them, and said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy power.
All this was going on in the wilderness. So there were certain areas in the wilderness when they went to drink waters, because back in the ancient world, you can drink water out of a lake. You do it in this society, man, you wind up dropping dead. You get all kind of parasites in you. So they went to this one water, this body of water, and they named it Marah, all right, which the word means contaminated, bitter. Actually, when you go deep, it means contaminated, because if you drunk that water, you're going to get sick. Now, what Moses did was he had a certain tree that he threw in the water, and the leaves of that tree acted as a filter to take out all those impurities. And there's certain plants that you can use. Like, for example, you got charcoal, right? You can, when you buy a water filter, the active thing that takes out the impurities is charcoal. Okay, that's one of the sciences that our people don't know. You know, our people get some type of poison, they don't know what the hell to do. They run right to this damn devil.